On a cold February evening in 1959, 6 seasoned hikers from the Leningrad Polytechnic Institute set up camp on the slopes of Mount Kolat-Syakhl. The wind howled so loudly that the mountains themselves seemed to be screaming in pain. Natalia, the only girl in the group, was the first to notice the discrepancy. Their maps showed a gentle pass, but in front of them rose a sheer rock face that should not have been there. As darkness fell, Vadim, sitting by a crackling fire, began to tell an old Mansi legend about the place where the land forgets names. His voice trembled when he got to the part about red doors that open only for lost souls. At that moment, the wind suddenly died down, and in the ringing silence, everyone clearly heard a metallic scraping sound coming from the darkness beyond the circle of light from the fire. Morning brought its first chilling surprise. Their tent had been carefully cut open from the inside, as if someone was carefully clearing a path out. The backpacks stood at the entrance, neatly laid out in a row. But the most eerie thing was the chain of bare footprints leading towards the forest. Artyom, bending down to examine, suddenly jerked back. "These are not ours, they have. God, they have 6 toes." The compass spun madly as they followed the tracks. 300 meters from the camp, between 2 unnaturally crooked pines, stood a door. Bright red, like fresh blood, with a perfectly smooth surface, without a single scratch or trace of time. What was most frightening was the complete absence of traces around, as if the door had appeared here a moment ago or had been here for eternity, defying the laws of nature. The last entry in Natalia's diary, written with a trembling hand, read, 3 a.m. Vadim is back. He's knocking on the wooden part of our tent, begging to be let in. But it can't be Vadim. We just saw his body by that red door. His eyes. God, his eyes were like a dead fish's, cloudy and bulging. The others went to the door with axes. I was left alone. Something was scraping against the awning outside. It was repeating my voice, but with a slight delay, like an echo from a deep well. When a search party found the camp a month later, they were met with an ominous scene. The tent had been torn apart from the inside with such force that some of the stakes had bent in half. 5 bodies lay in different places, some trying to crawl, some frozen in a defensive pose. On the bare skin of all the dead, strange burns were visible, reminiscent of ancient runes, as if someone had burned them with hot metal. But the most inexplicable thing was that red door, standing in the middle of the taiga, leaning against a rock, which was now back in place according to the maps. The door was wide open, but behind it only a stone wall was visible. The watches of all the dead stopped at the same time, 3:47 a.m. In the official report, the investigator wrote, "The cause of death is the impact of an irresistible force of nature." But those who read the full version knew, it mentioned the tongues missing from all the victims, carefully removed, as if with a surgical instrument. And the 6th chain of footprints leading from the door deep into the forest, traces of bare human feet with 6 toes. Now, decades later, local hunters sometimes talk about a red rectangle flashing between the trees on the slope of Kolat-Syakhl. If you get too close, you can hear a soft knocking sound, methodical, insistent, as if someone on the other side is desperately trying to get out. And on particularly quiet nights, the wind sometimes carries snatches of Russian, spoken in a voice that sounds like a bad tape recording. The last person to see the red door, a geology student in 2018, left only one recording on his tape recorder before disappearing. She's on the other side now. And there aren't 6 of them anymore. There are many more. They're learning. Oh, my God, they're learning to speak our language.